What's up, MetaNerdz? Today's video is all about the Scorpenek Annihilator Droid. You could rightly call this thing the Droideka's big brother, because they have a lot of the same features, and they were both made by the Collicoid species, but the Annihilator here is 3.5 meters or 12 feet tall, making it nearly twice the size of the Droideka. It has similar firepower with dual rapid-fire laser cannons, but they are, of course, much larger. For sensing equipment, it has a large red photoreceptor eye, which allows this thing to see in infrared wavelengths. On top of this, it has composite radiation sensors, which allow it to detect its environment in the same way as its Collicoid creators. And last, but definitely not least, it had the same type of shielding as the Droideka. And the way it worked was through some fuzzy sci-fi physics, but it's kinda cool. The bluish-purple energy ball that we see surrounding these droids is a bunch of highly charged particles that are all of the same polarity. So kind of like a bar magnet has a plus on one end and a minus on the other, the blast that was fired by these droids had its particles aligned in a way that wouldn't repel off the shield. So it's almost like a blaster bolt would have to be coated to the right frequency to be able to fire through the shield. And of course, enemy blasters would not be coated this way, so when their bolts hit the shield, its polarization is able to make the blaster bolt reflect right off, just like if you try and force two plus sides of a magnet together. Which makes a lot of sense if you just don't think about it too much. What's even more awesome is that since the Droideka's shield was designed the exact same way, they could actually take refuge inside their big brother's shield. And so Droideka with their shields could be safe inside the Annihilator's much larger shield, and all of them can be shooting out and raining death on their enemies. Their only problem was that they were very expensive to produce, and so the Collicoid kinda kept them for themselves. Originally, they never planned for any Annihilator droids to leave their home planet of Colic. In fact, there were less than 100 of these ever made. So they were used mainly as just giant, terrifying sentry turrets wherever the Collicoid felt needed the most protection. That was until later in the Clone Wars, when the Republic realized that all those annoying roly-poly and Tri-Fighter droids were all coming from the same planet. The Republic decided to launch an offensive against the Collicoid homeworld of Colic. They sent down 4 platoons of clone troopers, and provided plenty of air support in the form of turbo blaster bombardments. All was going well, and the clone troopers were able to make their way into a very important factory. But since these things never left the homeworld, they were completely surprised when the Annihilator showed up. Just as they reached the innermost wall, this monstrosity came to life, and its twin laser cannons annihilated a Duracrete barrier that the clone troopers were hiding behind. Completely defenseless, more than 75% of the ground troops were cut down, and only a few survivors were able to make it back to the ships. Now that the war had reached the Collicoid homeworld, they decided they would add the Annihilator droid to the CIS armament. Its effects were immediate, and helped to secure victories in the Battle of Formos and the Battle of Pilani. Now it's said, but it might just be CIS propaganda, that a single Annihilator droid could take out dozens of ATTEs. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but this thing definitely was a terrifying force on the battlefield. Near the very end of the Clone Wars, the Annihilator droid also made an impact during the Outer Rim sieges, and it's said that commanders hated knowing that they had to send dozens of troops to their death just to take out a single Annihilator. Now most people will tell you that this monster's story comes to an end with the droid decommission at the end of the Clone Wars. And although that's the official story, the Emperor wasn't about to let something this deadly go to waste. He made sure that whatever Annihilators were left were all sent to the Imperial Department of Military Research. And then it just so happened that many of these disappeared from that research facility and ended up at Palpatine's private citadel on the core world of Biss. Well, that's it for its history, but let me talk about some cool facts and some behind the scenes stuff. Concerning its ability to take out ATTEs, the actual phrase used was that it reduces it to smoking husks. So disrespectful. And we actually have a quote from ARC Trooper Steck, one of the clones that survived the Annihilator droid's ambush. It reads, "We don't know what it is, sir, but it took out 3 platoons. We can't let the Collicoids get these things off planet." And the design for the Annihilator droid comes from some concept art for a Droideka. And what's even more is that there's some concept art for the Battle of Geonosis, which seems to show the Annihilator droid there. How cool would that have been? But that's it for the Scorpenek Annihilator droid. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, because we're making videos like this every single day. If you want to study Star Wars even further, there's tons of great free stuff online like Wikipedia or other people on YouTube, but if you want some of the source material, go ahead and click on that link in our description below. It takes you to one book in particular, but be sure to browse around and see if there's anything you like. And any purchase that you make through that link shoots us back a small percentage, so that we can help this channel grow to the point that one day, we might be able to do this full time, which would be an absolute dream come true. But more important than all of that, remember, the Force will be with you, always.